I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed in Manhattan at 11:47 p.m., still wearing my scrubs, when my husband Carter video called me. I'd just finished a brutal double shift at Mount Sinai, 16 hours of back-to-back surgeries, my feet screaming, my back a knot of pain. All I wanted was to hear his voice. To feel like home was still waiting for me, even though I was 70 miles away. When his face filled my screen, I smiled. God, I actually smiled. "Hey babe," he said, grinning that easy grin I'd fallen for 12 years ago. "You look exhausted." "I am," I said, my voice cracking a little. "But I'm okay. Just miss you. Miss our bed." He laughed. "Miss you too. House feels empty without you." Empty. That word would haunt me later. He was sitting on our bed, the one we'd picked out together at that overpriced store in Brooklyn, the one where we'd made love 1,000 times, where we'd whispered our dreams into the dark. The navy blue duvet, the cream pillows I'd insisted on, everything looked normal. Everything was normal. Until it wasn't. "Hold on," Carter said suddenly, his smile flickering. "I think I heard something downstairs. Let me just check the door real quick." He stood up. The phone was still in his hand, but he tilted it away just for a second, maybe two, as he walked toward the bedroom door. And that's when I saw it. A phone. Sitting on my side of the bed. A bright, unmistakable pink phone case, glittery, obnoxious, covered in little silver stars. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might throw up. I knew that phone case. I'd bought that phone case for my sister Aurora, last Christmas. She'd squealed when she opened it, said it was so extra, so her. She never went anywhere without it. And now it was on my side of the bed, in my house, in my marriage. Carter came back into frame, still smiling, completely oblivious. "False alarm," he said. "Just the wind." I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. "Brooklyn?" His brow furrowed. "You okay?" I forced myself to nod, forced my mouth to move. Yeah, I'm just tired. I should get some sleep." "Okay, babe. Love you. Love you," I whispered. The words tasted like ash. I ended the call. And then I sat there, staring at the blank screen, my heart hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. There were only two people in the world who owned that phone case. One of them was me. The other was my baby sister. The girl I'd raised after our mother died. The girl I'd put through college while working 2 jobs. The girl who called me every Sunday just to talk, who cried on my shoulder when her boyfriends broke her heart, who told me I was her hero. The girl I would have died for. And she was in my bed. With my husband. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there in that sterile hotel room, the city lights flickering through the window, and felt something inside me crack. Not break, not shatter. Just crack. Clean, quiet, irreversible, because I knew right then, in that moment, that nothing would ever be the same. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying that 2-second moment over and over again. The pink phone, the stars, the way it sat so casually on my pillow, like it belonged there, like she belonged there. By 6 a.m., I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to cry, I wasn't going to confront them and give them the chance to lie, to gaslight me, to make me feel crazy. No. I was going to go home. I was going to smile. And I was going to destroy them both. Quietly, completely, so thoroughly they'd never see it coming. Because that's the thing about betrayal, isn't it? It doesn't just hurt you. It teaches you. And I was about to become a very, very good student. The drive back to Brooklyn that morning felt like a funeral procession. But I wasn't burying myself. I was burying the version of me who believed in loyalty, in family, in love. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I was someone new. Someone they should have been afraid of. The smell of burnt sugar hit me first. I was still sitting in that hotel room staring at my phone when the memory came flooding back. Burnt sugar. Thanksgiving. Aurora, maybe 16, standing in our tiny kitchen in Queens, crying because she'd ruined the sweet potato casserole. "It's okay," I'd told her, pulling her into my arms even though I'd been awake for 36 hours straight, working a nursing shift and then driving Mom to chemo. "We'll make another one. Together." She'd looked up at me with those big hazel eyes, the same ones our mother had, and whispered, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Brooklyn. I didn't know then that one day, I'd find out. I was 19 when Mom got sick. Aurora was 12. Dad had been gone since she was 4, just disappeared one Tuesday and never came back, so it was just us. 3 women in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment that smelled like menthol cigarettes and Vicks Vapo Rub. I dropped out of nursing school that year, took a job at a diner in Astoria, working doubles, sometimes triples. I'd come home at 3 a.m. smelling like grease and coffee, slip into the room I shared with Aurora, and watch her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so safe. I wanted to keep her that way. When Mom died 2 years later, Aurora was 14. I became her legal guardian. I was 21 years old, working 3 jobs, paying rent on an apartment I could barely afford, making sure she had new sneakers for school and money for the field trips I never got to go on. I never told her how many meals I skipped so she could eat, how many times I wore the same scrubs for a week straight because I couldn't afford new ones, how I'd sit in the hospital break room during my lunch hour, not eating, just staring at the wall and wondering if I was doing enough. I put her through college, every single penny. NYU because that's where she wanted to go, $37,000 a year. I worked overtime at Mount Sinai, picked up weekend shifts, took every holiday double I could get. I didn't go on vacation for 6 years. But when she walked across that stage in her cap and gown, looked at me in the audience and mouthed, "I love you," it was worth it. It was all worth it. And Carter. God, Carter. I met him at a hospital fundraiser when I was 26. He was charming, funny, ambitious. He worked in finance, talked about plans and dreams and building a life together. He made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I could stop carrying the weight of the world for a minute and let someone help. We got married a year later. Small ceremony, just family. Aurora was my maid of honor. She cried during my vows. The first time Carter lost his job, I told him it was okay. The market was tough. It wasn't his fault. I picked up extra shifts, covered the mortgage, paid off his credit card debt. $12,000. I didn't complain. The second time, 3 years later, I did the same thing. Smiled, said we'd figure it out, worked 60-hour weeks until my feet were so swollen I could barely stand. I believed in him. I believed in us. And Aurora. She stayed close. Sunday dinners at our place became a tradition. I'd cook her favorite dishes, lasagna and garlic bread, and she'd help me set the table while Carter opened wine. We'd laugh about stupid things, old memories, inside jokes from when we were kids. She called me every week, texted me pictures of her life, asked for advice about boyfriends, about work, about everything. "You're my person," she'd say. "You always have been." I helped her with rent when she was between jobs. $2,000 here, $1,500 there. I never asked for it back. Family doesn't keep score. Last Christmas, I threw a party at our house. Spent 3 days cooking, decorating, making everything perfect. Aurora showed up in a red dress, laughing, and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Best sister in the world," she whispered in my ear. Carter kissed my forehead that night after everyone left, while I was cleaning up wrapping paper and wine glasses. "You're amazing, you know that?" he said, "the way you take care of everyone. It's beautiful." I remember thinking in that moment that I was lucky. That I'd built something real, something good. I gave everything. I never asked for applause. I loved them quietly, the way real family does. If you've ever given everything to someone who later turned away, you'll understand this part. I didn't know then that all of it, every sacrifice, every late night, every dollar, every moment of love I poured into them, was building towards something I couldn't see. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It hides in pink phone cases and easy smiles and Sunday dinners. And I was about to learn that the people you save aren't always the ones who save you back. I pulled into our driveway at 7:18 a.m. The sun was just starting to break over the Brooklyn rooftops, casting long shadows across the street. I'd driven 70 miles on no sleep, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles had gone white. I didn't call ahead, didn't text. I wanted to surprise them. Funny how that word works, isn't it? Surprise. The front door was unlocked. That should have been my first clue. Carter always locked it. Always. He was paranoid about break-ins, used to lecture me about security every time I forgot my keys. But this morning, the door swung open with barely a push. The house was quiet, too quiet, no TV, no coffee maker gurgling, just silence, thick and heavy, like the air before a storm. I set my bag down in the entryway, slipped off my shoes. My heart was already racing. that primal instinct kicking in, the one that tells you something's wrong before your brain catches up. And then I heard it. Laughter. Soft, intimate, coming from upstairs. From our bedroom. My feet moved on their own, carrying me toward the stairs. Each step felt like walking through concrete. My chest was so tight I could barely breathe. I made it halfway up when I heard her voice. Aurora's voice. "Carter, stop," she giggled, breathy and light. "You're gonna make me spill my coffee." His laugh. Low, familiar, the same laugh he used with me. "Come here," he murmured. There was a pause, a rustling sound. Then, Aurora's voice again. Softer now. Almost a whisper. "She'll never find out." I stopped breathing. Those 5 words, 5 syllables, they didn't just break me, they erased me. She'll never find out. Not "I feel guilty," not "we should stop," not even "this is wrong." Just cold calculation. Just certainty. Just the absolute confidence that I was too stupid, too trusting, too pathetic to ever realize what they were doing. I didn't kick the door open, didn't scream, didn't confront them. I turned around, walked back down the stairs, picked up my bag, left. The door clicked shut behind me so quietly they probably never even heard it. I sat on the curb outside our house for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. I felt like I was going to be sick. A neighbor walked by with her dog, gave me a concerned look. "You okay, hon?" I nodded, smiled. "Just tired." She walked on. And that's when it started coming back to me. All of it. Every little thing I'd ignored, every red flag I'd explained away, every moment I'd chosen trust over truth. Aurora borrowing my diamond earrings last month, the ones Carter gave me for our anniversary, she'd never returned them, said she forgot them at work. Carter canceling our date nights, 3 in a row. Said he had networking events, potential job leads. I'd believed him, encouraged him. The missing money from our joint savings account. $1,500 in April, another $2,000 in June. Carter said it was for investment opportunities. I'd trusted him. Aurora's sudden interest in coming over on the nights she knew I'd be working late shifts. "Just want to hang out with Carter," she'd say. "He gets lonely." I'd thought it was sweet. Thought she was being a good sister. God, I was so stupid. No, not stupid. In love. Loyal. Human. They'd counted on that. Counted on my goodness, my kindness, my blind, beautiful trust in the people I loved. This wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy. They'd planned it, coordinated it, laughed about it over coffee in my bed while I worked 16-hour shifts to keep a roof over their heads. How long? How many times had she been in my house, in my bed, wearing my jewelry, while I was out saving lives? How many Sunday dinners had I cooked while they exchanged secret glances across the table? How many times had she hugged me, called me her hero, told me she loved me, all while knowing she was destroying me from the inside out? If you've ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal made you question your own worth, you're not alone. Thank you to everyone who helps me tell these stories. Your support keeps this space alive for those who still believe that truth, somehow, will always find its way. I sat on that curb until the shaking stopped. Until the tears dried. Until something else took their place. Not sadness anymore. Not even anger. Something colder, sharper, more dangerous. Clarity. I stood up, got in my car, and I started to plan. Because here's what they didn't understand about me. I wasn't the type to scream and break things and make a scene. I was the type who worked 3 jobs to put someone through college. The type who paid off $12,000 in debt without complaining. The type who raised a child alone at 19 years old. I was the type who got things done. And I was about to get this done too. Quietly, carefully, completely. They wanted to play me for a fool? Fine. Let them think they'd won. I didn't go back inside the house that day. I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just drove through Brooklyn, past streets I'd known my whole life, watching the city wake up around me while I sat trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. By the time I finally came home, it was almost noon. The house was empty. Carter's car was gone. So was the pink phone. The bed was made. Perfectly. Like nothing had happened. Like I'd imagined the whole thing. For a moment, I almost believed I had. That night, I sat at our kitchen table in the dark. Didn't turn on the lights. Didn't eat. Just sat there, staring at my phone, watching it light up with notifications I couldn't bring myself to open. One of them was from Instagram. Aurora had posted a photo. I clicked it before I could stop myself. It was her and Carter, at some trendy brunch spot in Williamsburg, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist, both of them smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. The caption read, "Lunch date with my favorite person." 243 likes, comments flooded in. Alvi, sibling goals. Best brother-in-law ever. This is so cute. My hand started shaking so badly I dropped the phone. They were doing it in public now, flaunting it. And everyone thought it was innocent. Sweet. Wholesome. Because who would ever think otherwise? Who would ever suspect that the sister and the husband could be anything other than family? When Carter came home that night, I was still sitting in the dark. "Brooklyn?" He flipped on the light. "Jesus, you scared me." "What are you doing sitting here in the dark?" I looked at him, really looked at him, searched his face for guilt, for shame, for anything that resembled remorse. "Nothing." "Where were you?" I asked quietly. "Lunch with Aurora. I told you this morning." He said it so casually, so easily. "You okay? You look exhausted." I saw her phone. "In our bed. On the video call." The words came out flat. "Dead." He blinked. Then laughed. Actually laughed. "Babe, Aurora stopped by to drop off some mail. She probably left her phone when she used the bathroom. You're reading way too much into this." He walked over, touched my shoulder. "You've been working crazy hours. You're stressed. Maybe you should take some time off." "I'm not imagining things." "I didn't say you were imagining things. I'm saying you're exhausted, and your mind is playing tricks on you." His voice was so gentle, so concerned. "When's the last time you got a full night's sleep?" I wanted to believe him. God, part of me wanted so desperately to believe him. But I'd heard her voice. "She'll never find out." "Brooklyn!" He cupped my face. "I love you. Only you. You know that, right?" I pulled away. He sighed head. "Okay. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." He went upstairs, left me sitting there in the kitchen, alone. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. Aurora stopped answering my calls. When I finally got her on the phone, her voice was cold, distant. "I heard you accused Carter of cheating," she said. "Brooklyn, that's insane. He loves you. Why would you even think something like that?" "I saw your phone. I left it there by accident." "Jesus, you're acting paranoid." She paused. "Are you okay? Like, mentally?" "Mentally. Like I was losing my mind." "I'm fine." "I don't know, Brooke. Mom always said you had a tendency to overthink things. Maybe you should talk to someone." She hung up before I could respond. 2 days later, my aunt called. Asked if I was doing all right, said Aurora mentioned I'd been acting strange, that I'd been overworking myself to the point of paranoia. The story was spreading. Quietly. Carefully. Brooklyn's losing it. Brooklyn's stressed. Brooklyn's imagining things. I stopped trying to explain, stopped defending myself. What was the point? I ate dinner alone most nights. Sometimes I didn't eat at all, just sat in the dark, listening to the house settle around me, feeling the weight of the silence press against my chest. One evening, I went to my mother's jewelry box, the one I kept on my dresser, the antique wooden box she'd given me before she died, filled with the few pieces of jewelry she'd owned. It was lighter than it should have been. I opened it. Half of it was gone. Her gold bracelet, her pearl earrings, the opal ring that had belonged to my grandmother. Gone. I checked every drawer, every corner of the house. Nothing. Aurora had taken them. I knew it. She'd been in my house, in my room, and she'd stolen the last pieces of my mother I had left. I sat on the bedroom floor, holding the empty jewelry box, and I didn't cry. I was too tired to cry. If you've ever sat in a room so quiet it started to echo your thoughts, you'll understand this silence. Thank you to those who help keep these stories alive. Your kindness helps give voice to people who've been forgotten, who sit alone in their pain, waiting to be seen again. The house felt like a tomb, and I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. But somewhere, buried beneath the numbness and the exhaustion and the grief, something else was stirring. Not hope. Not yet. But a pulse. Faint. Steady. Waiting. I was folding laundry in the bedroom when I heard Carter's voice drift up from downstairs. He was on the phone, laughing, That easy, careless laugh I used to find charming. Yeah, once the house is transferred, we're set, he said. She'll sign anything I put in front of her. She trusts me. I froze, a shirt hanging limp in my hands. Aurora's been working on her, he continued. Playing the grieving sister card, making her feel guilty. It's perfect. Brooklyn's so focused on keeping everyone happy, she doesn't even read what she signs anymore. My heart stopped. The shirt fell to the floor. Give it 2 more weeks, maybe 3, Carter said. Then we're out. Clean break. And yeah, the savings account too. I've got her login. She never checks it. Silence. Then, I know. But she works all the time. She won't even notice until it's too late. Another pause. Love you too, baby. Baby. Not me. Aurora. I backed away from the door, my legs shaking, and sat on the edge of the bed, the same bed where I'd seen her phone. The same bed they'd probably shared 100 times while I was saving lives at the hospital. My mind was racing now, pulling up memories like files from a drawer I'd tried to keep closed. 2 weeks ago, Carter had asked me to update the deed on the house, said it was for estate planning purposes, that we should have everything in joint names in case something happened to me. I'd believed him, almost signed it. Aurora had even offered to help with the paperwork. I know a notary, she'd said sweetly. I'll take care of it for you, Brooke. You're so busy. I hadn't signed it yet. Something had stopped me. Some tiny instinct I'd ignored until now. I opened my laptop with trembling hands and checked my email. There it was. A draft document. Subject line: property transfer action required. The deed to our house. My house. The one I'd bought with my own money, my own sweat, my own years of overtime shifts. Ready to be transferred into Carter's name. Solely his name. I clicked through my bank statements next. Withdrawals. Small ones at first. 100 here, 200 there. Then bigger. 1,000, 1,500. All authorized by Carter. Our joint savings account, the one I'd been building for years, the emergency fund I thought would protect us, was almost empty. $47,000. Gone. I sat there staring at the screen, the numbers blurring in front of me. And then I remembered something Aurora had said last Thanksgiving. We'd been washing dishes together, and she'd had too much wine. You know, Brooklyn, she'd slurred, leaning against the counter. You kind of owe me. For everything. Mom died and left you in charge, but that doesn't mean you gotta keep everything. I'd laughed it off. Thought she was just drunk and emotional. But she'd meant it. She actually believed I owed her. For raising her. For loving her. For giving her a life. And Carter. Carter, who I'd supported through 2 job losses, who I'd believed in when no one else did, who I'd trusted with everything. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd plotted against me. This wasn't passion. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was theft, premeditated, calculated, cold. They were going to take my house, my money, my life. And they thought I'd never figure it out. I closed the laptop slowly. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My breath was steady. For the first time in weeks, my mind was clear. If you've ever found truth in the quiet moments after pain, you know what this part feels like. Thank you to everyone who supports these stories. Your kindness keeps hope alive for people still finding their voice after betrayal. I stood up, walked to the mirror, looked myself in the eyes. They thought I was weak, broken, too kind, too trusting, too tired to fight back. They forgot something important. I was the woman who raised a child at 19, who put herself through nursing school while working 3 jobs, who saved lives for a living. I didn't break. I rebuilt. And I was about to remind them exactly who they were dealing with. There comes a point when silence stops meaning defeat. It becomes preparation. I sat at the kitchen table the next morning, watching sunlight filter through the curtains, casting long shadows across the floor. Carter was still asleep upstairs. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. I sipped my coffee. It had gone cold an hour ago, but I didn't care. My phone sat in front of me, screen dark. It had been ringing all morning. Aurora. 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails I hadn't listened to. I didn't need to. I knew what she wanted, what they both wanted. My signature. My trust. My continued ignorance. But that version of me, the one who signed documents without reading them, who believed every reassurance, who chose love over logic, she was gone. I'd buried her somewhere between the hotel room in Manhattan and the curb outside my own house. The woman sitting here now was different. Sharper, colder, more dangerous. I opened my laptop and started a new document. Titled it simply, Evidence. Then I began to work. First, I called my bank, told them I needed to freeze all withdrawals from our joint account effective immediately. The representative asked if there was a problem. Just a precaution, I said calmly. My husband and I are reassessing our finances. Of course, Mrs. Hayes. Done. One keystroke, one phone call, $47,000 locked down. Carter couldn't touch it now. Next, I contacted a lawyer, not someone local, someone in Manhattan, someone Carter and Aurora would never think to look for. Her name was Diane Kowalski. She specialized in matrimonial law and financial fraud. I need to understand my options, I told her over the phone, quietly. How quietly, she asked. They can't know I've spoken to you. Not yet. There was a pause, then, I understand. Come see me tomorrow. Bring everything: bank statements, deeds, emails, text messages, everything. I will. I hung up and felt something shift inside me, a gear clicking into place. For years, I'd mistaken generosity for love. Now, I was learning the quiet math of self-respect. That afternoon, I went to a small electronics store in Park Slope, bought a nanny cam disguised as a potted succulent, the kind you'd never notice, unless you were looking for it. I placed it on the bookshelf in the living room, angled perfectly toward the couch. Then I waited. Carter came home around 6, kissed my cheek like he always did. "How was your day?" he asked. "Long," I said, smiling. "Yours?" "Same. Exhausting." He loosened his tie, sat on the couch, right in view of the camera. I made him dinner. Pasta. His favorite. We ate together, made small talk, watched TV. I laughed at his jokes, asked about his job search, played the role I'd been playing for 12 years. The devoted wife. Meanwhile, the camera recorded everything. 2 days later, Aurora stopped by. Unannounced, as usual. "Hey sis," she said, breezing into the kitchen. "Brought bagels." "Thanks." I poured her coffee. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion. Just missed you." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You've been so distant lately." "Have I?" "Yeah. Carter mentioned you've been stressed. Maybe we should do a girls' day soon. Get your mind off work." I nodded. "That sounds nice." She stayed for an hour, talked about nothing, laughed too loud, touched Carter's shoulder when he walked through the room. The camera caught all of it. After she left, I checked my phone. I'd installed a tracking app weeks ago, one of those family safety apps she'd agreed to, when I told her I worried about her living alone in the city. I pulled up her location history. For the past 2 months, her phone had pinged at my address almost every night. Sometimes for hours, sometimes overnight. I saved the screenshots, added them to the file. It's funny how silence can sound like thunder when guilt starts to echo. A week passed. I played my part perfectly. Sweet Brooklyn, exhausted Brooklyn, trusting Brooklyn. But behind the scenes I was building a case. I backed up every financial record, every email, every text message. I changed the password on our joint accounts, opened a new account in my name only, and transferred my next 2 paychecks into it. I met with Diane twice, brought her everything. "This is textbook fraud," she said, flipping through the documents. "And attempted coercion. You have more than enough for a divorce and a civil suit." "I don't want a suit," I said. "I want them exposed. I want everyone to know what they did." She looked at me over her glasses. "That can be arranged." On the 10th day, I was taking out the trash when I saw it. A crumpled piece of paper at the bottom of the bin. I almost missed it. But something made me stop. Made me reach in and smooth it out. It was a medical report. Aurora's name at the top. And 3 words that made my blood run cold. Pregnancy test. Positive. I stood there in the alley, staring at the paper, my hands shaking. She was pregnant. And I was willing to bet everything I owned that Carter was the father. I folded the paper carefully, slipped it into my pocket, walked back inside, smiled at Carter, who was watching TV. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Perfect," I said. And for the first time in weeks, I meant it, because now I had everything I needed. The next morning, I opened my email and began typing. Subject: family meeting. This Saturday, 2 p.m. We need to talk, all of us. There are some things that need to be discussed. I hit send. Then I sat back and waited. The storm was coming. And this time, I was the one controlling the waves. Saturday came. 2 o'clock. I'd set the dining room table for 12. Used the good plates. The ones we only brought out for holidays. White tablecloth. Fresh flowers in the center. It looked like a celebration. In a way, it was. Carter had been nervous all morning, asking questions I deflected with smiles. Aurora had texted 3 times asking what this was about. I'd told her the same thing I'd told everyone else. Just family. Just time to reconnect. By 2:15 they were all there. My Aunt Linda, 2 cousins, Carter's brother Marcus, a few close friends from the neighborhood. Aurora arrived last, wearing a loose sweater that didn't quite hide the small curve of her stomach. She hugged me at the door. "What's this about, Brooke?" "You'll see," I said softly. We gathered around the table. I'd made sandwiches, salad, coffee, normal, casual, like any other family gathering. Except my hands weren't shaking anymore. Carter sat at one end, Aurora across from him. I stood at the head of the table. "Thank you all for coming," I began. My voice was steady, calm. "I know this is unusual, calling everyone together like this, but there's something I need to share with all of you. Something I've been carrying alone for too long." Aurora's eyes darted to Carter. He shifted in his seat. "Brooklyn," he started. "Maybe we should—" "No." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. It's my turn to speak now. The room went quiet. I pulled out my phone, set it on the table, opened the video file I'd been preparing all week. "For the past few months, I felt like I was losing my mind," I said. "People told me I was paranoid, overworked, imagining things." I looked at Aurora. She'd gone pale. But I wasn't imagining anything. I pressed play. The video filled the screen. My living room. Clear as day. Carter and Aurora on the couch. Kissing, his hand on her waist, her fingers in his hair. Gasps rippled around the table. Brooklyn Aurora stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Sit down," I said quietly. She sat. The video kept playing, their voices now, crystal clear. Carter's voice. "Once the house is transferred, we're set." Aurora's laugh. "She'll sign anything, she trusts you." Carter. "She works so much, she'll never even notice." My Aunt Linda's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus stared at his brother like he'd never seen him before. I stopped the video. "That was 3 weeks ago," I said. "In my house. On my couch, while I was at the hospital working a double shift." Aurora was shaking now, tears streaming down her face. "Brooklyn, please." "Please what?" I asked. My voice was still calm. Almost gentle. "Please stop? Please forgive you? Please pretend this didn't happen?" Carter stood up. "Brooklyn, listen." "No. You listen." I pulled out a folder, laid it on the table. Bank statements showing $47,000 withdrawn from our joint account without my knowledge. Property transfer documents you tried to get me to sign that would have put our house solely in your name. Phone records showing Aurora's location at this address almost every night for 2 months. I looked at Aurora. "And then there's this." I pulled out the medical report, unfolded it slowly, placed it in front of her. "You're pregnant," I said. "Congratulations." The room was so silent I could hear people breathing. Aurora's face crumbled. "Brooklyn, I'm so sorry." "I had a DNA test run," I continued, "with Carter's toothbrush and a sample from your doctor's office. The results came back yesterday." I looked at Carter. His face had gone white. "You're the father." Marcus pushed his chair back. "Jesus Christ." My aunt started crying. One of my cousins stood up, staring at Aurora with disgust. Carter tried to speak. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out. Aurora was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "I never meant we didn't mean." "You didn't mean what?" I asked quietly. "You didn't mean to betray me? You didn't mean to steal from me? You didn't mean to sleep with my husband in my bed while I was paying your rent?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. I looked around the table, at all the faces that had doubted me, whispered about me, thought I was crazy. "I'm not doing this for revenge," I said. "I'm doing this so you all know the truth, so you can see exactly who they are." I picked up my phone, my folder, walked toward the door. "Brooklyn, wait," Carter's voice cracked. I stopped, turned back. "For 12 years I loved you," I said. "I believed in you. I carried you when you couldn't carry yourself, and you repaid me by trying to destroy me." I looked at Aurora. "I raised you, I sacrificed everything for you, and you repaid me by taking the one thing I had left." My voice didn't shake, didn't break. "You both taught me something important," I said, "that love isn't about how much you give, it's about who deserves what you have to offer." I opened the door. "Goodbye." The last thing I heard before I closed it was Aurora's scream. Carter's voice, the chaos erupting behind me. But I didn't look back. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. After the verdict, silence became my favorite sound. It was the sound of justice finally breathing. I didn't stay to watch the fallout, didn't need to. The truth had already done its work, and gravity would handle the rest. 3 days after the family meeting, Carter's lawyer called mine. He wanted to negotiate. "There's nothing to negotiate," Diane told him. "Your client committed fraud. He's lucky Mrs. Hayes isn't pressing criminal charges yet." Yet. That word hung in the air like a promise. By the end of the week, Carter had moved out. A court order barred him from the house, from our joint accounts, from anything with my name on it. He took his clothes, his laptop, and the shame that clung to him like cologne. I changed the locks that same afternoon. The house felt bigger without him, quieter, clean. Aurora tried calling me 47 times in those first few days. I didn't answer. On the 48th call, I blocked her number. My Aunt Linda called instead. "Brooklyn, honey," she said, her voice tight. "Aurora's been asking if you'll talk to her. She says she's sorry, she says." "I don't care what she says," I interrupted gently. "She made her choices. Now she gets to live with them." Linda was quiet for a moment. Then, "Half the family's not speaking to her anymore. She showed up at Cousin Marie's house yesterday, and Marie closed the door in her face." I didn't respond. "She's pregnant, Brooklyn. She's scared." "So was I said, "when I found out my sister and my husband were conspiring to steal everything I'd worked for, but nobody cared about that, did they?" Linda sighed. "You're right. I'm sorry. I don't know what she expected." "She expected me to stay blind," I said. "That's what they both expected." 2 weeks later, I heard through Marcus that Carter had lost his job. Turns out his boss's wife was friends with my Aunt Linda. Word had traveled fast about what he'd done. Corporate HR got involved when someone forwarded them the video from the family meeting. Moral turpitude, they called it. A violation of company ethics. He was let go the same day. No severance, no references, just a cardboard box and an email saying his access had been revoked. Aurora's story was messier. She'd been dating someone, some guy named Derek, she'd met at a yoga class. He'd proposed to her 2 months ago. She'd said yes, told everyone the baby was his. But Derek's mother was at that family meeting. She'd seen the DNA results, heard the truth. Derek broke off the engagement in a text message, blocked her on everything. His mother posted a vague but pointed message on Facebook about liars and manipulators that got 300 likes in an hour. Aurora deactivated all her social media the next day. By the end of the month, I heard they were living together in a motel off the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. The kind with hourly rates and flickering neon signs. Carter's brother told me in passing, almost apologetically, like he thought I'd feel bad. I didn't. I didn't need to ruin them. Their lies had already done that. One afternoon I was walking through Park Slope when I saw her. Aurora. She was coming out of a discount grocery store, carrying 2 plastic bags that looked too heavy for her. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy bun. She wore sweatpants and an old jacket I recognized, one I'd given her 3 Christmases ago. She looked tired. Small. Hollow. For a second, our eyes met. She froze. I didn't. I kept walking, my head high, my steps steady. She called out behind me. "Brooklyn, please." I didn't turn around. Behind me, I heard her voice crack, heard her start to cry. But I didn't look back. Some debts don't need to be collected. Life has its own way of balancing the books. That night, I sat in my living room, my house, my name on the deed, my peace, and opened a bottle of wine. I didn't drink to celebrate, didn't toast to revenge. I just sat there, feeling the weight of the past few months finally lift off my shoulders. They used to whisper that I'd lost my mind. Now they avoided their own reflections. Carter tried reaching out once, about a month later. Sent an email through a mutual friend. "I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I never meant to hurt you." I read it once. Then I deleted it. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter if he meant to hurt me or not. He did. And I survived. I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. I took the money I'd saved, the house I'd protected, the life I'd almost lost, and I started over. Not with bitterness, not with rage. With clarity. I learned that love isn't measured by how much you give, but by whether the person receiving it deserves what you have to offer. I learned that family isn't defined by blood, but by loyalty. And I learned that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and let the truth speak for itself. Months later, I heard Aurora had the baby. A boy. Carter wasn't at the hospital. No one was. I felt a flicker of something when I heard that. Not pity, not satisfaction. Just sadness. For the life that child would have. For the parents who destroyed themselves before he was even born. But it wasn't my story anymore. I'd closed that chapter. And when I walked out of that room, out of their lies, out of their betrayal, I didn't leave broken. I left whole. Free. And finally at peace. The afternoon light filtered through my window, pale yellow mixed with gray, casting long shadows across the floor. I sat in my favorite chair, sipping tea, and smiled. Not because they'd fallen, but because I'd risen. After the noise fades, what's left isn't victory, it's understanding. I stood in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning, 3 months after everything had ended, watching sunlight pour through the window I'd just cleaned. The house looked different now. Felt different. I'd repainted the bedroom, soft gray instead of the navy blue Carter had insisted on, replaced the curtains, bought new sheets that had never touched anyone's skin but mine. I'd ripped up the carpet in the living room, the one where Aurora's phone had fallen more times than I could count, and installed hardwood floors, light oak, clean lines. Every corner of this house had been a battlefield. Now it was becoming a home again. My home. I poured coffee into a mug I'd bought for myself, white ceramic with a simple gold rim, and sat at the table. No one across from me. No one expecting breakfast. No one's lies filling the air. Just silence. And for the first time in years, silence didn't feel lonely. It felt like peace. There were moments, in those early weeks, when I'd wanted them to suffer, wanted to see Carter humiliated, wanted Aurora to feel the same crushing weight I'd carried. I'd imagined their downfall in vivid detail, pictured myself watching from a distance as their lives crumbled. But somewhere along the way, that hunger faded. Because I realized something, justice isn't about watching them fall. It's about standing again without hate. Their punishment wasn't my responsibility. Their consequences were already written into the choices they made. I didn't need to orchestrate their suffering. I just needed to stop participating in my own. My Aunt Linda came by one afternoon with a casserole and an apology. "I should have believed you sooner," she said, standing awkwardly in my doorway. "I'm sorry, Brooklyn. I really am." I let her in. Let her sit at my table. Let her cry a little. "You didn't know," I said. "None of you did. They were convincing." "Still," she said, wiping her eyes. "You're my niece. I should have trusted you." I nodded. Didn't say it was okay, because it wasn't. But I also didn't hold on to the anger. Forgiveness isn't about deciding someone deserves it. It's about deciding you deserve to be free of the weight. Other family members followed. Cousins, old friends, people who'd whispered about me, doubted me, thought I was losing my mind. They came with apologies, with shame in their eyes, with casseroles and flowers and words that didn't quite erase the past but softened it a little. I accepted them. Not because they'd earned it, but because I was tired of carrying resentment like a stone in my chest. One Sunday morning, I woke up to jazz playing softly from the speaker in the kitchen. I didn't remember turning it on, but I didn't turn it off either. I made pancakes, just for me, blueberries and maple syrup, sat by the window and ate slowly, watching the neighborhood come to life. A couple walked by with their dog, a kid rode past on a bike. Normal, beautiful, mundane life continuing all around me. And I was part of it again. Not as someone's wife. Not as someone's sister. Not as someone's caretaker or savior or victim. Just as Brooklyn. I used to believe love meant giving everything. Now I know love also means knowing when to stop. For years, I poured myself into people who saw my kindness as weakness, who took and took and took until there was almost nothing left. I thought that's what family did, what love required. But I was wrong. Real love doesn't empty you, it fills you, and anyone who drains you dry while calling it devotion is lying to you and to themselves. That was the hardest lesson. The one that hurt the most to learn. But it was also the one that saved me. Late one night, I sat on the edge of my bed and whispered into the darkness, "Mom, I hope you're proud of me." I didn't believe in ghosts, didn't know if she could hear me, but I needed to say it anyway. I protected Aurora for as long as I could. I tried to give her the life you would have wanted for her, but I can't anymore, and I hope that's okay. The room stayed silent, but somewhere deep inside I felt a release, a quiet permission to let go. To stop carrying the weight of promises I'd made when I was too young to understand what they'd cost. If my story teaches anything, it's this. Kindness without boundaries isn't love. It's surrender. And I was done surrendering. I started volunteering at a women's shelter in Brooklyn. Spent Saturday mornings helping women who were rebuilding their lives after leaving abusive relationships, after escaping families that drained them, after walking away from people who claimed to love them but only loved what they could take. I saw myself in their eyes, saw the same exhaustion, the same quiet strength, the same fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could build something new. I told them my story, not all of it, just enough. And when they asked how I found the courage to leave, I told them the truth. I didn't choose revenge, I chose truth, and truth did the rest. One evening, I stood on my balcony, watching the sun set over Brooklyn. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, the city lights just beginning to flicker on. I thought about Carter, about Aurora, about the life I'd almost lost, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even relief. Just peace. Betrayal breaks you. Justice rebuilds you. But silence is where you reclaim your power. I didn't need them to apologize anymore. Didn't need them to understand what they'd done. Didn't need closure or explanation, or one final conversation. I just needed to keep living. To keep waking up in my own house, drinking my own coffee, making my own choices. To keep being the woman who survived, who stood up, who walked away. If you've ever lost yourself trying to love someone who only saw your worth in numbers, I hope my story reminds you, it's never too late to choose yourself. Thank you for keeping these stories alive, stories where justice doesn't shout, it heals. I turned away from the sunset and walked back inside, closed the door, locked it, and smiled. Because justice gave me back my name, but peace gave me back myself.